Love spells. Are they evil? The dangers of being led by emotions and desire. You are a being of abundant love, health, and wealth. You are a manifestation of the divine. In a world where we are stripped of our authenticity, I am here to walk you home by reminding you of your ultimate power. I am KaSandra, the creator and artist of Magic of Eden. Welcome to my podcast, Magic of Eden, the journey to your highest version. On my podcast, I'll be featuring and performing my poetry. I'll discuss traumatic and heartwarming experiences and how we can use magic to help us reclaim our divinity and evolve along our spiritual journeys. I'll also pull tarot and oracle cards during some discussions and leave you with words of encouragement as you reclaim the God and Goddess within you. I hope that through my passion and vulnerability that I am able to create a safe haven for you to thrive and transform. Grand Rising, good afternoon and good evening. Thank you all for coming back to another episode of Magic of Eden, the journey to your highest version. My name is KaSandra and I am the host here on this podcast. I appreciate all of you for coming back. It is always good to be in good love and good light and high vibes and in good spirit with you all. I cannot wait to unpack the topic that we have today, which is love spells. Are they evil? The dangers of being led by emotions and desire. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this topic is because I have seen so many posts and I've heard so many conversations about people, individuals, practitioners doing love spells to try and bring in a very specific person. And normally these conversations are about how they did, very I want to say disturbing things, and the reason why I feel like it's disturbing is because these things were done without the person that they were trying to attract. They were doing this without their consent, and it was just so disgusting, and I'm ready to shed some light. So let's go ahead and get right into this podcast because I'm very eager. So first of all, let's just go right ahead and talk about spells real quick. Now let me give you guys a bit of a background on what a spell is. Now this podcast is not going to be about the history of spells or anything like that, so bear with me. I just want to give those who don't understand the craft or witchcraft or magic or spells in general, I just want to give a generalized definition and example of what a spell is. So, what is a spell? A spell, and this is my own definition based off of my own experience and, how I work my magic. It's going to vary, I guess, based off of practitioners, but, the fundamental definition of a spell could be a word or phrase typically spoken to draw in or banish energy based upon the individual's intention. Spells are typically used for personal gain, unless you're doing spell work for another person, of course. And they can also be used in conjunction with hand gestures, magical tools, and sigils to maximize and enhance the power of the spell. Spells can also be activated by simply speaking them with power behind it, and they can also be activated by performing a very specific ritual before and or after speaking the spell. Now, one thing that I can say, one example that I can give you on a spell is simply an affirmation, right? Now, the reason why affirmations are amazing spells is because, first of all, words have the power to create, to draw in energy, and they also have the power to banish or destroy energy, so to speak, right? And the thing about affirmations is that they are words that you speak to draw in a very particular energy, to raise your vibration, to enhance your overall quality of life. That is the reason why I believe that affirmations are spells. And again, spells, you speak them, right? At least most of us do. Unless you're someone who feels it's okay to, recite your spell in your mind, and that's all right. But for the most part, typically people do speak spells. Now, another example of a spell, you want to make sure that you have the who and the what, right? So let's just say, flies of filth depart from thee, clear this space, lest ye be burned by the powers that be. So in this sense, The spell is about the flies. And what do we want? Well, we want them to cleanse our space. Well, we want them to clear our space. We want them to depart from us. And there is a consequence for these flies if they do not clear our space. They will get burned by the powers that be. So anyways, that is an example of a spell. And well, those are actually two examples of spells. Okay, again, we have the affirmation and then we got the one about the flies. Now, the fundamental reason why I believe that people say and speak spells and chant spells is because they want to basically just draw in and manifest what they feel will enhance their overall quality of life, right? Now, spell work is usually done for things like protection, healing, wealth and prosperity, health, and of course love. Some people even chant spells to conjure beings or to make contact with beings, but that's a conversation for another time that we're not going to talk about right now. So yeah, that's basically the reason why people do spells. I know that the reason why I perform spells is because I like to focus on self-love and I like to focus on self-healing. You know, I've never had to do a spell to draw on a partner. Not that there's anything wrong with that at all. My spells have been geared towards myself. I have never done a spell for another person, and I never will do a spell for another person unless I have their permission to, and unless I feel like I vibe with that energy. So anyways, let me go ahead and continue. Right, so I want to go ahead and get into a love spell. Now, what is a love spell? Well, a love spell is a spoken word or phrase used to gain a specific kind of love and or increase one's magnetism based upon the practitioner's intent. Right? Now, this is usually geared towards the feminine aspect or the feminine energy, since we are speaking about attracting. Now, this is not about women. This is not about men. This is not about people who are non-binary. This is about energy. I am not speaking specifically to gender. I am talking about feminine energy. It does not matter what you identify as. Now, I also want to point out that the terms that I used earlier about health and wealth and prosperity and love and things like that, those are honestly all just umbrella terms, because the deeper you get into the craft and into magic and into spell work, you'll understand that those can be so specific. Like, there are so many specific things. Like, what kind of health are you attracting? For example, are you wanting to focus on eye health? On liver health, on your whole body. What is it that you are trying to increase, the health for, right? And then love. What kind of love are you trying to attract? Are you trying to attract self-love? Are you trying to attract platonic love, motherly love, brotherly love, whatever? What kind of love are you trying to attract? And I think that is very important when doing and working your magic as it pertains to spell work, right? Now, because this podcast is specifically geared towards love spells, I want to finally answer that question and give you that truth that is hard to sit with, right? I believe that spells, love spells specifically, are not evil. How can something without a moral construct or consciousness to it be evil? There's no persona. There is no sentience. There is no consciousness associated with the spell. So how can something without that be evil? What people do, what I notice, is that they always say things like, or some people say things like, oh, that's evil, or black magic is evil, or that spell is evil. And they are completely bypassing and dismissing the fact that there is a practitioner or an individual behind the spell. A spell is dead without energy. A spell is dead without you or I. There is nothing there to control it. So how? There is nothing there to create it. So this is dangerous. It is extremely dangerous. It is such a pity that these things are being misconstrued and misunderstood by people who do not have an actual understanding of magic and the craft. So again, I do not believe that love spells are evil. I do not believe that any spell is evil. I do not believe that magic is evil. And I stand by that 1000%, right? No spell is possible without the individual or the power of their will. Okay? So, what makes love spells so infamous and feared by those who don't have a true understanding of the craft? In my opinion, and this is my opinion, right? I'm not here to tell anyone how to work their magic. I am not here to condemn anyone. I am just simply here to shed my own opinion. I believe that it is the abuse of power by those being guided by their emotions and desires to be desired and wanted, specifically by someone who is not their divine partner, or by someone who does not want to be associated with them romantically at all whatsoever, or their magic right under the nose of someone who did not give consent. And I think that is extremely abusive. I mean, you may as well call that something like stealth magic. I mean, that's just like a term that I pulled out of my ass, but when you think about it, it's disgusting. It's like, I need to know, what you're doing. If I'm telling you that I want to know what you're doing, I mean, I feel like, as a person, I have the right to know, right? And I believe that it's very disgusting to do something that someone does not want you to do. And I just think it's disgusting. I don't think that we talk about this enough in the spiritual community. And now I want to get into why I love spells so much. Now, the reason why I love spells so much is because spells have the tendency to reveal subconscious issues and internal conflicts that reside in the shadow dimension of the mind. And I say that because I've experienced it, right? Now, again, I do spells because I focus on self-love and self-healing and things of that nature. So that is what my spells are geared towards. I'm not going to share any of my spells because they are very personal to me. So please understand that. But whenever I have done a spell, it never backfired. It only revealed what I needed to work on, right? So if I needed to work on self-confidence, I did a spell for that. And lo and behold, what happened was, based on my journey, what happens is that I am often placed in a situation that makes me choose me, right? It doesn't matter. The situations are never good or bad. They just are what they are. And that is how I get the result that I need, right? Because when you are creating a spell, you're basically working with, the universe. You're basically connecting to your higher self, right? And that is why my spells always worked for me, because they were never intended to be geared towards anyone. Even when I felt the need to create a spell for protection, I never put anyone's name in a spell to keep them away from me. I always focus on the energy around me. I always focus on the protection being towards me. And usually if anyone ever, tries to do anything that's, hasty, things like that, for the most part, I'm protected. And I stand by that. So I'm not, here to be cocky or to say, people are doing it wrong. I'm just giving them, again, my perception of it. Now, as it pertains to love spells, when people are working their magic to bring in a very specific person who is clearly not their divine counterpart, is operating from a place of lack. They are operating from a place of lack of self-love. They are operating from a place of they don't want to do the work to raise their own vibrations and to bring in that energy for themselves. They're looking for the quick way out. And I think it's like they're passing on the responsibility to someone else to do what they are supposed to do for themselves. I truly believe that some people are operating from a place of trauma. They're operating from a place of the fear of being alone, the fear that the energy that they want to draw in for themselves does not exist outside of that person. And one of the things that I would like to say to someone that, that does this is that, the person may be off limits to you, but the energy that you want to bring in is not. Energy is not off limits to you at all. You, as a limitless being, have the potential and the power to conjure this love from within the depths of you. It exists. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed, right? You already have it within you. You just have to believe that it exists. You have to believe that you can conjure it. One of the things that drives the magic, the only thing that drives our magic is the power of our belief. If we do not believe it, it is not so. If we believe it, it is so, right? Now, one of the things that I learned when working my magic and working my spells is the fact that when you are creating and when you're working your magic, you are the observer. You are always the observer, whether you are into magic or not. This world that we live in now was, constructed for us to observe and evolve. And we observe our experiences and we evolve past them and we take it back to source. And when you recognize yourself as the observer, you are aware of yourself and other people and your experiences. Now, back to the point that I was making about people speaking these love spells out of a place of lack. They need to recognize that when they are connecting with the universe, what they're actually saying is, hey, I don't deserve quality love in my life. I don't deserve unconditional love. I don't deserve, love from a romantic partner. And because of that, I feel like I'll never get it. And so I feel as though I have to make this decision to force this person to love me because I've never felt this before in my life. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like that's where, the irresponsibility comes in, because you have to then think, okay, what did I go through to make me feel as though I have to do this to this person? What did I go through? What were the circumstances in my life growing up? You know what I mean? And I feel like this is also kind of where some of those subconscious issues, of parental figures, comes into play. What kind of parental figures did you have growing up? Did you have any parental figures? What kind of traumas that you have to process that you went through maybe when you were an adult? And I feel like all of these things go into play when you are, creating these spells and trying to do the spell work, especially as it pertains to love spells. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the thing is too, is people don't recognize that they are operating from that shadow aspect of themselves, unconsciously, and they're not consciously aware of what they're doing. And so what they feel like is like, look, I'm gonna do this because I feel like this is the right way for me to do it. But the thing is too, is that you also have to stop and think, if I am operating from the shadow aspect of myself, then maybe what I am attracting is actually another person's shadow. Now, let's just entertain the fact that, doing a spell on someone is actually working, right? Well, what are you going to bring into your life then? What are you going to attract? You could have attracted the most abusive person, on the planet. You could have attracted someone that was extremely manipulative. You could have attracted someone who does not have their finances together, or who is verbally abusive, physically abusive, sexually abusive. You don't know exactly what you are attracting, especially if you're not even aware of your own shadow. See, whether you are conscious of it or not, the shadow knows, right? Your shadow body knows, and it recognizes, and it seeks to avenge itself, and it seeks to gain experience, and it seeks to be seen. And if the only way that it can be seen is by interacting with another shadow, then so be it. Do you see what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of people who are doing these love spells to bring or to force someone into their lives are not understanding the basis of that. Where is the compassion? Where is the compassion for the self, right? When you are the observer, when you are truly in tune with your magic and who you are as a being, you know that fundamentally you are the fucking spell. You are the fucking spell. And I truly believe that people who know that they are the spell understand that if they increase their magnetism, and if they are providing the energy, if they can bring that same energy, then the energy that they bring will be matched. You know what I mean? And the energy that, comes into their life will be matched regardless. You know what I mean? They'll never operate from a place of lack, because they know that this world is too abundant. They understand the power of creation, and they understand that they are creation, and that no matter what, it will always be there. You see, the people who understand that they are the spell are in alignment with themselves. They are in alignment with the divine masculine and divine feminine aspects of themselves, and therefore they know that whatever they touch turns to gold, and that if they can think it, that it can be created, that it already exists. And that is the fine difference between someone who was working their magic and doing their spell work from a place of lack, and from a place of being the observer and knowing who they are truly, fundamentally, as a being. Now, I am going to say and be honest and transparent, I do have compassion for the people who feel as though they're doing work that is harmless, right? But what I want to challenge you to think is regardless, I mean, you may think that you're just trying to draw in the person closer to you. Do you know what I mean? But really sit and ask yourself, is this person supposed to be with me? Am I supposed to be with this person? Why are you trying to force something that's not is? Do you see what I'm saying? When you are forcing something, if you're forcing it, it means that you're basking in the illusion that you have control. You don't have control over that. Do you see what I'm saying? And I feel like when you allow yourself to be deflowered, you are allowing yourself to receive the nourishment from the source of which it's supposed to come from. And this includes relationships. Do you see what I'm saying? One thing that I also want to say too is that if you don't have a relationship with yourself, if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, how can you even expect to have a relationship with someone else? How can you expect for someone to bring you something that you cannot provide? Do you see what I'm saying? Can you provide unconditional love? Can you be a romantic partner? Can you bring A, B, and C to the table? Do you see what I mean? It's like you expect for someone to show up, but you're not there to see them. You're not there to meet them halfway. How can you? How can you put that unfair expectation on someone when you are not fulfilling your own expectations? Do you see what I'm saying? And I feel like it could also be what these people are exposed to. And I don't mean to say these people as in like they're bad people, but I'm just saying, like, what have you been exposed to that makes you feel again that you have to force someone to do something that they don't want to do? Or maybe you were forced to do something that you didn't want to do, and so you felt that this was the way of life, that this is the way things are just supposed to be. And it's with that limited mindset that you will never truly manifest, what you feel that you are destined for, until you come to the realization that this is not, where it's at. What can anyone really even tell you? And that brings me to a question, and I'm saying you, in a general sense, like not you as if I'm talking to the person, or maybe I am. You never know who's listening to these podcasts nowadays. But anyways, what makes you feel, or what makes a person feel that they don't deserve it? It could be the way that their parents used to talk to them when they were younger. And I know that in my household, growing up, I don't mean to bleed any of my parents here on this podcast or put my business out there, but there were certain ways that we were talked to, and we grew up feeling as though we weren't deserving of kind love, because love is patient, love is kind. Love is a spirit that wants to transcend all time, that will transcend all time. And growing up, we didn't feel that in every aspect that we needed. Growing up, we didn't feel that, that nurturing. I didn't feel that nurturing, from either one of my parental figures, in a sense. You see what I'm saying? And I don't mean to compare myself to other people, because we all deal with our experiences in different way, right? We all deal with our experiences in different ways, and that's all right. But you have to really ask yourself, like, is this really the way to go? You have to come to terms with the fact that there is some healing that needs to be done before even getting yourself into these spells. That is the reason why I feel that shadow work is highly important, especially when it comes to doing love spells. Because think about it. Let's just entertain again the fact that this, that's something happens. Now you have to allow the course to play out. Let's just say you attracted something that you didn't want. You have to let it take its course at that point. And who's to know what's to happen after that? You could have basically led yourself to your destruction. That person could have been led to their demise, or your demise. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be very careful when you're playing with these energies, because energy is not to be fucked with. You're dabbling into something that is not to be fucked with, and I stand by that. Energy is real. Everything is energy. Energy is everything. And when you recognize and remember that energy is everything, you understand your place in the world. Do you see what I'm saying? And I feel like when you recognize yourself as energy, you understand that it is a give and exchange type of environment. What you are giving, what you are exchanging, will come around full circle. Now, I'm not saying that I believe in karma per se. I feel that karma has some very dangerous ideas, and so I don't really dabble into karma, especially because I don't believe in a being that tells you right from wrong, and a being that damns you to hell or something like that. I don't believe in that. So I really cannot say that I believe in karma, but I do believe that energy will always bring itself to an equilibrium. It will always bring itself back to a balance. It will always come around full circle. That is what I believe. And so I believe that when you are fucking with things that you don't need to be fucking with, it will backfire. It will backfire on you. You have to be very intensive with what you are doing. No matter what you are doing, you have to be aware, and you have to be intensive. Move with intuition. Be guided by your intuition. You see, acting on behalf of your emotions will only bring you to your demise. It will only bring you to your own destruction. And you will clench at the waist of your destruction if you allow yourself to be guided by these emotions. You have to allow yourself to be led by your higher mind. You have to understand that what you want exists. If you exist, it exists. Understand that. And when you bring yourself into the alignment, into alignment, when you are aligned with your divine feminine energy of being receptive and receiving, you don't need to try and force this person into your life. There's a reason why they are not there. There's a reason why this person is not at your vibration. They are not where you're at in life, and that is all right. And I don't believe that this is something that should be forced at all. Some of the things that people do is, they put blood in people's coffee. They squat over people's plates. They put their bodily fluids in their drinks. Like, think about that. Like, that, first of all, is truly disgusting for someone to do that to someone that does not consent, or who wouldn't consent if they knew it was happening. Like, think about that. Like, that is truly disturbing. Now, I understand, for us witches, some of us, we've worked with bodily fluids and things like that, but, we do it under the circumstance that we are clean, and that we obviously, if we're working, our magic for ourselves, obviously we know, but I've never done this for anyone else, but I'm pretty sure that for anyone who is responsible, they will make sure that the person understands and knows what they are doing and what they are getting into. Does that make sense? I am speaking on behalf of the people that are doing this shit without the person knowing, thinking that they're gonna do some shit or pull some plugs or whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? I am speaking on behalf of those people, because when you're getting into the craft, or when you're into witchcraft and things like that, the sky is the limit. You're working with, a person's DNA, you're working with your DNA, you're supposed to get better results, which I'm not going to discuss right now. That is a topic for another time. But I am, again, speaking specifically to those that are doing this shit under the person's nose. Do you see what I'm saying? Imagine you go to someone's house for dinner and you're like, damn, like, what's taking so long? Meanwhile, they're squatting over your fucking plate. Like, just imagine that. Like, imagine that. And I'm up here laughing because, like, just imagine, Now, again, I just want to express that, working with bodily fluids, in my opinion, is not the problem. The problem happens when you are irresponsibly using bodily fluids for another person without their consent and without them knowing. That is the part that is not being talked about. And I want to go back to the Instagram posts that I was seeing and these conversations that I was hearing with people doing this. And these people are sitting here laughing and being facetious about it. Like, these people were being very facetious about these things, and it's like they had no respect or care for the other person. It's like people were glorifying being able to do this. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room. I'm gonna talk about 10 elephants in this room right now. The demographic that I saw, I don't know, the ethnicity of these people, but majority of them were women, or people who identified as women. That is a problem. That is a problem. But I'm not speaking it on behalf of sex. I am just pointing it out that these are the things that I am seeing. These are people who either identified as women or are just women. You know what I mean? Just women. Just women. But wow, I just, I really wanted to shed some light on that, because I feel like, again, this is not talked about enough. If I had to leave anyone with any more words, I would say, look, just do the shadow work. Just do the work that you need to do. Sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that you want to call in? There are so many different ways that you can bring in that divine partner. One, you can script. When you script something, you are using your imagination, the power of your imagination and your intuition, in conjunction with writing. Do you see what I'm saying? You're using the power of your intuition in conjunction with your imagination to create new possibilities, to create the world that you want to live in. You can literally script your partner. Write in present tense. Sit with yourself. Create a sacred space. Cleanse your space. Create a sacred space for yourself. Grab a marker. Your favorite color if you want, or just like a regular black marker, something with very dark ink. And sit with yourself and that piece of paper, and you start writing what you want your life to look like, what you want your partner to look like. Describe every single last detail, and be careful with what you're writing. What does the person look like? What do they smell like? What do they offer you? Are you married? And speak in present tense. He or she is short or tall or whatever, or dark skin or light skin or whatever your preference is. They are a Capricorn. Their birthday is this day. Use your imagination. Do you see what I'm saying? And you can set your intention. You can do a love spell for yourself, to channel self-love, so that when you are to meet this person, you are ready to receive what they have to offer. You are ready to receive them fully and wholly. Do you see what I'm saying? And I feel like people are missing the fine print. They're missing the fundamental aspect, and it begins with the self. And I just wanted to shed some light on that, as I stated before. Now, some of the things that I think people can do before they start to get into these love spells is, again, the shadow work. What does your inner child need? Revisit your childhood to see if there was anything that happened to you that needs attention, what is your inner child calling out for you to do for them? Go back and let them know that it is okay. Root chakra, do some root chakra work. Do you see what I'm saying? Go back to your roots. I'm not saying for you to live those past memories in this moment, because that's really what our suffering is sometimes, is reliving those moments, is reliving a memory. But what I'm saying is, sometimes in order for you to understand the present and to prep and plan for the future, you have to go back in time. You have to go back in the past to figure out what went wrong so that you can do what you need to do in the moment, so that your future moments or whatever other moment you're going to have, you know how to deal with these things head on. And you know how to live in the moment responsibly. You know how to live in the moment with the highest of vibrations that you can possibly get to in that moment. Do you see what I mean? When you are forcing something, what you are saying is, I am afraid that I will never have this. I am afraid that I will never become in alignment with this again. Or I am afraid that I do not have what it takes to receive this in the future. But if you were to trust yourself and know, again, that you are the spell, and if you were to trust yourself to know that whatever is a part of you or whatever is destined for you, you shall have that. A true magician knows that. A true priestess knows that and understands that. Whether you are into magic or not, we all work our magic in some way. And I feel that it is the responsible thing to do to work your magic for yourself, to bring and to raise awareness of what you've gone through before. I think that it is responsible for you to remain the observer and understand things from an objective standpoint, and understand that it is important and imperative for you to guide your emotions. Do not allow yourself to be led by greed, fear, anger, lust. Do you see what I'm saying? I feel that if you recognize these emotions and you put them in your magic, you can then create positive change so that you can transform and become your highest best. Now, I just wanted to point out a few crystals that you can work with, to channel self-love. And the first one that I want to mention is the most well-known one would be rose quartz. Now, rose quartz is a crystal or a stone of unconditional love, right? And the color is pink, and it is associated with the heart chakra. And with this one, you can actually recognize the love within yourself, but also love all around you as well. And you can project that out into the universe as you receive it from the cosmos, as you receive it from the ethereal. That is one crystal or stone that you can work with. Another well-known one is citrine. And citrine is associated with the solar plexus chakra and the crown chakra. And the color usually is yellow, ranging from paler honey to even brown sometimes. And I feel like this energy eliminates feelings of self-doubt and worthlessness. And I also feel like it connects you with the most spiritual aspect of you when you allow it to. Do you see what I'm saying? And I also feel like another stone you can work with would be rhodonite. And this one is a stone of self-love and also unconditional love as well. Now, this one is also associated with the heart chakra and the root chakra as well. Now, remember, we were talking about the root chakra earlier, I believe. And this one is also, it helps you to balance your emotions while simultaneously allowing you to tap into a high vibration of love, right? And those are just a few stones that you can work with. And then one final one that I want to say is that you could also work with red jasper. I know that red jasper and turquoise are a couple of stones that you can work with. Now, turquoise I know helps you with communication and things of that nature. But anyway, in a nutshell, those are a few that you can work with. Now, there are some flowers or herbs that you can work with. And one of those herbs, it could be rose. Now, I'm speaking on behalf of increasing your magnetism here as far as the herbs are concerned. So you can work with rose. Rose is a power player when it comes to love and beauty. Rose is used a lot in glamour magic, but also rose can be used in divination, which I'm not talking about divination. So in this sense, we'll just stick to beauty and love, right? And another herb that you can work with would be catnip. Catnip is amazing when it comes to attracting. And another herb or flower actually is hibiscus. Hibiscus is a highly feminine flower. I feel like I want to do another podcast, going into depth more on these flowers and their rulers and things of that nature. So I'm not going to say too much about them here. But now cinnamon, oh my God, it is so spicy, but it's also very sensual. It's a very sexual smelling herb and oil. It is, oh my goodness, it is so spicy and it's very sensual. But anyways, yes, those are some things that you can work with. Those are some stones and some herbs or flowers that you can work with. So anyway, I hope that this podcast has been helpful. I hope that I was able to shed some light and some things that you can do, which reminds me, I'm being called to talk to you guys real quick about meditating. Real quick, meditating. Meditating with these crystals and stones will help you maximize your energy. It will help you to enhance your energy. It will help you to raise your vibration and to elevate your frequency. Remember, it is not the crystal per se that is healing you, but it is your will in conjunction with the vibration of these crystals that is allowing you to tap more into yourself so that you can become healed. That is the true healing. Meditate with these crystals, sit with these plants. How do they make you feel? Do you see what I'm saying? Speak to the divine. Speak out loud what you want. That is the purpose of a spell, to speak out loud what you want. Speak what you want out loud. But anyway, I hope that this podcast has been helpful. And to anyone that needs to hear this, you are worthy of so much love and light. You are love and light, but you are also shadow. Recognize your shadow so that it does not wreak havoc on yourself or others. Recognize your shadow and tame your shadow and implement your shadow in healthy ways so that it is not destructive. Make sure that you are aware of these things so that your shadow is not destroying your life. Move with intention. Move in love because you are love and you are the embodiment of that. Understand your power. Understand where you are going. Understand that no matter what anyone tells you, you are worthy and you are divine. I am so happy and honored that you are all here with me right now as I close out this podcast. Thank you for sticking with me through the audio quality. Thank you for sticking with me through all the stuttering. When I get excited, I stutter. So you guys will come to know that about me. I'm not being called to pull any cards right now, but maybe in the next podcast, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It just really depends on what the guys have for me. So until then, thank you all for being in great love, high vibes, and good spirit. Until next time. Thank you, tribe, for tuning in to this podcast episode. I have enjoyed our time here. In case you need to reach me, you can visit my Instagram at Magic of Eden. There you can find short posts of inspiring messages, witchy tips, and much more. You can also visit my online apothecary to purchase herbs, ritual oils, candles, and book readings. I am excited to hear from you.